Well, good morning, everyone.
Another episode
of the Couples Academy show.
Yes,
My name is
sir.
Hassani.
And I'm Danielle.
And every morning we come to you for great conversation to help you with your life, your love, your relationships, and all things that will help you take your marriages to a higher level. We are broadcasting live from Atlanta, Georgia. Glad to be with you here this morning. We have a very interesting topic. There's been a very, very, very high demand on a particular topic that a good portion of our clients are dealing with. And that is, what do you do when your spouse has an affair and there's a child?
Wow.
And it's a heavy topic, but a necessary topic for us to discuss because so many people are struggling with it. And so before we get into today's topic, I just want to go ahead and give you a brief announcement once again that the Last Chance Weekend is coming up December the 11th through the 13th, 2020. People are registering. We encourage you to go ahead and register. The link is available right in the description of the video beneath you. We have a few more slots available. It's going to be an incredible weekend. You do not want to miss it. Once again, it is virtual, so you can do it from the comfort of your own home. In times past, we've had people who have even gone to a hotel just to get into a different environment, to get away from the kids so that they're not distracted and they could zone in and get everything that weekend has to offer.
I think it's actually a great idea to consider that, because this is not a retreat. This is not a workshop. This is a 3-day intensive. And so we're going to go real deep. We're going to work on some serious issues, and you don't want to be distracted. So if you have the means, get yourself a hotel, go away, send the kids away.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's great, because, when's the last time we actually enjoyed our home together with no kids?
Exactly.
Right? So do whatever you got to do to get alone. Register for this conference. You don't want to miss it.
All right, guys, what we're talking about when infidelity leads to pregnancy. We'll be right back.
Is this what you want to talk about, our imaginary love affair?
I'm pregnant. I saw my gynecologist on Monday. Here's his card. You can call him.
You don't,
Use anything? No. I had a very bad miscarriage last year. I didn't think I could get pregnant.
How do you know it's mine?
Because I don't sleep around.
It's the big game.
I apologize.
Right.
I'm sorry. Don't worry, all right? You're not going to have to handle this alone.
Handle what?
Abortion. I'll take care of it. I'll pay for it.
What makes you think I want an abortion?
You're not going to have to pay.
Why not? Plenty of one-parent families. At least they don't end in divorce.
I don't have a say in this.
I want this child. It has nothing to do with you. I want it whether you're going to be a part of it or not.
Then why are you telling me? Huh? Why? Why just go ahead and do it?
I was hoping that you would want to be a part of it.
This is crazy. This is totally insane.
I'm 36 years old. It may be my last chance to have a child.
Alex, just think what you're saying. Just think about it. We are going to live with this for the rest of our lives.
I know that. I've thought of that. I know how you feel. It's a big thing.
Welcome back. Wow.
Powerful.
I mean, unfortunately, this is a scenario that is happens quite often, but is seldom talked about. And today we're talking about when infidelity leads to pregnancy. But first I want to say hello to people. Thank you for these early attenders. Lakeisha, welcome. Calvin, welcome. Jaguar, welcome. Miss H, Timothy, Ellis, Jaguar again. Nicia, thank you guys. Vashawn, good to see you. Guys, everybody like, share, and subscribe. This is a topic that you want to share with folks because it's really seldom talked about. But it is a scenario that happens quite often.
It does. It happens quite a lot. And I would say a good percentage of the couples who reach out to us are in need of serious help and guidance. There's not a lot of information out there that you can find online, not a lot of videos, not a lot of blogs and articles. No one's really addressing this. And so this has been something that we've wanted to give special attention to because we have helped guide several couples through this process. And as we've mentioned in previous shows, there's different scenarios that pop up. There are those who have an affair and somebody is pregnant. There are those who have an affair and a child has just been born. And sometimes there are those who've had an affair and they just discovered that there's a child out there that they didn't know. And the way that you handle every situation is uniquely different. So we want to walk you through some basic fundamental steps that really can apply to everyone. It's like we're throwing out a wide net, and wherever you find yourself, this is something that will get you started in the process.
And let's not leave out those that had the affair and that got pregnant, because that's a scenario that takes place often as well. And that tends to complicate situations even more, because now if you were to save the marriage, that means that there would be a child in the household most likely. But there are some tips that we want to give you. Again, we're talking about when infidelity leads to pregnancy. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe and get all your friends, family, and everybody you know on. So the first thing is no more lying, no more cheating, no more cheating. I mean, when you find out that there is an affair and then there is a child, we got to make sure that we know that we are doing everything that we need to do to close this relationship and make sure that there will never be another affair, because now you're about to embark on a journey that you never had to encounter before.
Now, this may sound like an obvious tip, no more cheating, but you know what? It has to be stated, because the reality is there are people who still stay connected to an affair partner, but when it comes to a child, you have to be connected to that affair partner. But you know what happens is, because we've been together before, though we're choosing to end the affair, there's still familiarity, there's still a connection. And so if you don't put proper boundaries in place, then you increase the possibility of it happening again. So you have to make an internal vow within yourself, and then you have to establish a covenant with your spouse that this will never, ever, ever happen again, because the spouse is already on edge. They're already suffering from low self-esteem. They feel abandoned. They feel rejected. They don't know if this could possibly happen again because of the connection of the child. So it's a lot to really consider and think about.
Yeah. Next one is no more lies. We've got to stop lying. Think about the fact that there might be a child on the way, or that there is a child on the way, or that you've discovered that the child exists already, right? And a lot of people actually want to be a part, of that affair partner's child's life, because they brought that child into the world. So now transparency becomes king. I need to know everything, and you need to really bring me into the loop of that situation. It can't be, I'm over here married to you, and then you have a whole nother life over there with the affair partner and that child.
Absolutely. And so listen, guys, the reality is there's a tendency to minimize. There's a tendency to trivialize information, to be tight-lipped, to take things to the grave. Well, I'm not going to tell it unless it comes out. And what you're doing is you're making matters significantly worse. We have found that when a person is transparent and tells all, it puts them in a better position of recovery than when the spouse has to go on an investigation and turn into, Inspector Clouseau. They're looking for every single tip and hint and piece of information that they can find, because they can't rely on you to be honest.
And the truth is that's exactly what will happen. You will become a detective. You will find out the details. You will snoop. And now you have invited me to intrude, and I will intrude and find out. So why? Why not just start out with transparency? Because we got this huge journey to embark upon together.
And listen, guys, it's so important to understand that honesty is the best policy, because what's going to happen if you are tight-lipped on that information? Remember, the spouse has access a lot of times to the affair partner. The affair partner is reaching out to the spouse, and oftentimes that story is going to be very different. And if you are mum's the word and not articulating, they will hold that affair partner's information as gospel because you refuse to speak up. So you've got to be able to have difficult conversations. There are going to be a lot of conversations that you're going to have. And if you don't know how to prepare yourself for that, that is why we're here to guide you through that process.
Yeah.
So stop lying, because it's only going to make matters significantly worse.
Let's talk about the next one, taking a paternity test. And this could be a deep dive and goes many different directions because, if you know that this child is yours and you've been hiding it from your spouse, that's one thing. But if somebody were to present to you and say, I'm pregnant and it's yours, right? We're not going to take that as golden. We have to go and get a paternity test. And there's all kinds of situations that can arise as a result of that.
Absolutely. And so the reality is, folks, there's something called the time emotion quotient. Keeping it simple, as we've heard before, time flies when you're having fun. Imagine doing something that you love. You could be at that thing for 8-9 hours and you get lost in time, and it felt like 2 once you got done, 2 hours. But imagine something that you hate. Remember when you were in school, there was that teacher that you couldn't stand, that subject that you weren't good at, and that 45-minute class seemed like an eternity. Well, what we're talking about is the emotions that you attach to the experience makes time seem long or time seem short. So when you're in that phase of, we don't know for sure, we've been told that she's pregnant, we think that it may be my spouse's, but we're just not sure. That waiting period can be agonizing.
Yeah.
And so what you want to do is do your best to get a paternity test to find out the results as soon as humanly possible. Blood tests can be done. And so the challenge is, if the affair partner is not complicit, that presents its own set of issues. But if they are, try to find out the results as soon as possible. And in the meantime, what you want to do is you want to play out all possible scenarios. Okay, so let's assume the child is not yours. Okay, then this is how we're going to move based upon that information. Well, let's assume that the child is yours. Okay, well, let's play out that scenario. How are we going to move if the child is yours? The more you think about it, the more you strategize it, the more you talk about it, whatever the result will be, you are properly prepared for that information.
And that plays into the next one, which is making a decision. Because if you don't know, it's almost like a fork in the road, right? While you're waiting to find out if this is your child, your partner's child, or your child or not, right? You have to make these decisions. Am I going to move forward and fight through my marriage, and what am I going to do about this child, or am I going to go my own separate way? So you have to really come to some conclusion at this point. After you've got the paternity test and you find out this is a solid, true situation, this child is coming into my world, what are you going to do? Are you staying? Are you going to stick it out? Now what?
Yeah. Being stuck in the valley of indecision is torturous for all parties involved. And so, listen, we say this all the time. When you're drenched and soaked and saturated in emotions, it's really hard to make any decision. And any decision you make in that state is a decision you'll regret. You decide to stay, well, guess what? The next day, you're going to regret it. If you decide to leave, possibly the next day, you're going to regret it. And you're vacillating back and forth.
Right.
And so rather than making that decision, allow someone to guide you through a process so that the decision becomes crystal clear.
There's a couple comments in here. LaShawn says, this is so sad, but this is happening every day. Absolutely. It's incredibly sad, but you see these cases come through the Couples Academy office doors all the time, and they don't know what to do. People have said, can my marriage survive infidelity that resulted in a child? We get this question all the time, and the answer is yes, yes, yes. It all depends on how you manage the situation. It really does. If you have two partners that have come together, mended their marriage, and are connected, they can move together and work through this together.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the key. I think where it falls apart is when, it's still frustrating in the marriage, and one's determined to be in this child's life and the other's determined not to be, and now they're divided. We can't do anything divided. We have to do everything together. There's a couple more comments in here. It says, somebody said it's a deal breaker. It's not a deal breaker. Xanagy says, I ain't mature enough to navigate through this one.
And it takes a lot of maturity and emotional stability.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no question about it, because you have to remember, this is an affair that produces a child, and the child is a constant reminder of the affair. So if you're attempting to move forward, you don't want to continue to look back on your past, but this is a past experience that you're going to be living every single day.
And it's a sticky situation, and it takes a village. And that's the next one we're talking about. Get third-party help. This is not something that you can navigate on your own. You know why? Because there's no real rules to this game. It actually depends on the couple and the scenario and the situation, what rules have to be designed for you. It's such a custom walk, right? So for you to try to apply what somebody else did or somebody you knew down the street did, it may not work for you. You need to get into the hands of some good quality counseling that can show you what to do, help you avoid all of the pitfalls and all the landmines so that you can get through this together.
And whoever you go to, wherever you are around the country, around the world, because let me tell you something, we have people from Africa, we have people from Latin America, we have people from the Middle East, Australia, all over the world who are experiencing this. Whoever you go to, make sure that they have been through this before. You know, when we think about doctors are known, another term that they're given is practicing physicians. They're practicing, they're figuring things out along the way sometimes. But you don't want somebody to be guiding you through a process who is trying to figure it out along the way. You want somebody who's been there, who's worked with many couples who have been in these sticky situations and have helped to navigate them through. Yeah. So make sure you choose wisely.
So the next one is you have to determine the relationship you're going to have with the child and the parent on the other side. Yeah. Talk about that.
That's so huge, because here's the reality. If I had an affair and the affair partner is pregnant with child, well, while we're finding out, all the way leading up to the actual birth of the child, the affair partner has a tendency to want to communicate directly with the spouse who they were in the affair with. And so the other spouse feels like, wait a minute, not only were you in this triangle that I wasn't a part of, actually she's a part of the triangle, but she's the far reaching end of the triangle. You were in this affair relationship with this person. Now you want to continue to engage in conversations and interactions. So now when she has to go to the doctor, she wants you to come, and I'm supposed to be sitting back waiting for you to get home. Oh, no. So what has to happen is there can be no private one-on-one interaction, communication, planning, strategizing with the affair partner and the spouse who had the affair. The spouse has to be a part of every interaction, every conversation, every bit of the planning. Now what's going to happen is that
you're all up in people's backyard right now, because a lot of folks ain't doing that.
Well, wait a minute. No. This is going to piss the affair partner off, because they're like, I'm not trying to talk to your spouse. Yeah. Your spouse wasn't there when we had this child. Mm-hmm. But no, the spouse, if she decides to stay, or he has to be a part of those engagements. That's because right now the spouse can't trust their partner, because every communication in the past was based upon deception, secrecy, lies, and infidelity. And that's got to come to an end. So if there's no group kind of conversation, whether it be a group text, WhatsApp, Marco Polo, joint emails, whatever the case may be, that is a problem.
We talking about putting our big girl panties on. Jaguar says, what do I do when my husband constantly wants to complain about his baby mama drama? It's his fault she's in our life. Why do I have to sympathize with his struggle? I'm the one who was betrayed. Mm-hmm. You know, that's part of this big decision that we make when we decide to stay. And we really pull no punches when it comes to this. We don't sugarcoat or pussyfoot, as you say, around how difficult this is, the challenge that you're embarking upon. And this is why you need a village to support you. You know, not only do we suggest couples to come through Couples Academy and get your marital support, but also getting your own self-support so that you both can grow together and be better, because this walk is not for the lighthearted. It is not for the faint. So when you've decided to stay, his issues become now your issues. That's what marriage is. When we become one, we share everything. Our issues, our idiosyncrasies, our hurts, our faults, our flaws, our good times, our bad times, our healthy times, our sick times, everything. And so if you've decided to stay, you got to get your head in the game. And that is why you need support.
Getting your head in the game is everything. Mm-hmm. And see, this is where couples stay stuck in what we call the sufferer marital pattern. We talk about there's 3 post-affair marital patterns: the sufferers, the builders, and the explorers. And a lot of times when the child comes, this is where they're at, because it's met with unforgiveness, resentment, bitterness. There's a huge disconnect to this point, to the point Jaguar's making. I mean, I understand where she's at. I mean, we get it,
yeah.
right? Like, how in the world you gonna come to me about your baby mama? Listen, I'm the one suffering. And so the reality is, this is what I need all of you to understand. Both of you are suffering in 2 completely different ways for 2 completely different reasons. And when you take this journey together, you have to be aware of each other's narrative, personal story, and struggle, so that you 2 can help each other get through this thing together. If it will create a permanent wedge between the 2 of you, then we need to reevaluate, what are we really in this for, right? Are we in this because we feel like we can't do any better? Are we in this just to pass time? Are we in it? Because sometimes you can do the right thing for the wrong reasons. And we want to make sure that you really check your heart and understand what you're in this for and what you're signing up for, should you decide to move forward.
Xanadu says, this sounds like an involuntary polygamous relationship. My fear would be the treatment of the child. Seems super hard to nurture a seed that you didn't plant.
That's a good point.
Yes.
And so we talked about the role that you have to have with the mother or the father, the parent of the child, but then there's a relationship with the child. Now, here's the deal. You know, we've had many couples who have dealt with this particular issue, and really it's a mixed bag. There's some spouses who are like, they love the child. They want to spend time with the child. They because maybe they could not have their own child,
that's when
or
I've seen
maybe
it.
they were
Yeah.
looking for another child. So this is an opportunity for them. But then the affair partner, the parent, the affair partner, they don't want the spouse to have any involvement. Don't bring my child around. And it's just insanity on both ends to think that, right? But then you have others who really struggle. Listen, I'm married to you, but I'm not attached to anything that involves that affair. And so it creates this permanent wedge. So now what do we do? Because when it comes to visitation, when it comes to birthdays, when it comes to special events, am I going alone? I can't be with the child without being with the parent of the child. Like, how do we work out all of these difficulties? There's a lot of complexities involved, and this is why the reason why you can't do this on your own.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's where like some serious transparency needs to come into play. I mean, if you're really trying to restore this marriage and make it work, you got to sit down and talk about what's going to work best for this household here. You know, like, what do I need to do to make my partner feel safe and comfortable? How do we need to move together? Because not every partner whose spouse had a child outside the marriage wants to be at every single thing. Everybody's going to have different boundaries. There's some that wants to be at everything. You got a doctor's appointment, I'm going. You're going to the grocery store to pick up some pampers for the child, I'm going. Like, but then you have the opposite spectrum where they actually don't want to be a part of that because it's too much of a reminder. So you have to talk about what boundaries work for your marriage and implement those boundaries. The second to the last thing is dealing with your emotions. And I think it's important to talk about that right here, because when it comes to the kids, right? They're the ones that are innocent in all of this. They had nothing to do with it. It seems quite unfair for you to take out your wrath on that child.
Exactly.
Right? And so at that point, there needs to be some emotional intelligence, and that's something that her partner, you may not be able to do that on your own. You might be stuck in a certain way. You might see that child's face, and every time you see the child's face, it brings you back, it triggers you, and brings you back to the affair. That is why you need to get the support, because you can't do it all by yourself, but you can't live your life that way, seeking vengeance on an innocent child.
And let me tell you something. I don't care how young that child is. The child can feel it. I remember when we were probably 2 years into our marriage, and Paris, our oldest daughter, was a little baby. And I remember she was either in my arms or Danielle's arms, and we were in some type of argument. And, you know, a baby can't comprehend anything. But I remember her reaction. We were going at it, and she was just like she completely turned her head around and looking up at us. And she couldn't comprehend it, but she could feel
Someone,
it.
right.
And as that child gets older, they will begin to comprehend it. And so now a spirit of rejection and abandonment and issues may develop in that child because of the way that the parent or the spouse of the parent of that child, deals with that child. So these are really, really, really difficult things that you really have to think through, talk through, walk through, pray through in order to get it to a better place if you decide to stay.
Yeah, I see a lot of comments in here. Angie says, I ain't sticking around for that. And Xanadu says, this is the stuff that all these ID channel stories are made of. But seriously, I admire people who can move through this. For me, I'd have to dip. The truth is that none of us know really what we'll do until we are in them shoes. We all have said it. If you cheat on me, I'm out. Okay, my mama didn't raise me like that, but then you come into the situation and you start to look at things and think about things differently.
That's right.
We don't know how we'll respond until we're in those situations.
And interesting enough to that point, Danielle, there's so many couples that we do deal with. One of their struggles to forgive is that they've made these internal vows that they'll never stay. They'll never be like their mother. They'll never be like their father. They'll never put themselves through that position again. And then they find themselves in that very position, but they have a desire to stay.
Yeah.
And so there's like an internal struggle that they have within themselves over some decision. So if I go against my promise, it's almost like I'm breaking a vow to myself, like I'm betraying myself. Well, listen, people grow, people develop, people take on new beliefs and new postures as they make transitions in their life. And it's easy to say what you won't do, to your point, Danielle, when you're not in the situation, but when you are in it, it's a whole nother reality. And there's so many people. People don't come to us because they want to get out. People come to us because they're trying to figure out, how do we navigate through this? Because I'm going through. This is a difficult thing. This is not what I signed up for, but I'm here. I love him. I love her. What do we do about this?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you hear folks say all the time, I never thought I would stay through this. I can't believe I'm still here. I can't believe that I'm actually the one dealing with this situation. I never thought it. That's my point, that you don't know. That's why these kind of videos are so important for people to say, you know what, let me go back to that one because I need to know the steps to take. Now we need to talk about one of the most important issues, and that is money issues. Because somebody has to pay for this child. And now that financial burden is resting on your house.
And this is where true negotiation comes in. And this is where it gets kind of sticky, because the spouse has to be in every single conversation with their partner who had this child, and then the two of you together are now talking through and negotiating with the affair partner. And that can be very sticky because you have your own perspectives on how much the child deserves and who's getting what and what's going towards what. And so it becomes and you need somebody, and I keep saying this because there's not a lot of information that you can find on this. You need somebody to be able to guide you through this, because there's some legitimate needs that child has. And so you can't punish the affair partner by taking it out on the child financially. But at the same time, if we already have all of our finances allocated towards our household, and now this is another expense that we did not anticipate, what do we do with this?
You don't really have a choice, because the affairs partner is definitely going to take you to get some child support, because now it's over. You've closed your marriage back up again. They're out. Right? They're definitely going to go to the judge to make sure that they take those paternity papers that have said that it is you, and you are going to have to pay child support. So it's not even a negotiation about what that is. The judge is going to have all the say in that, unless somehow you're in a situation where you have an amicable relationship with this affair partner and you can work it out and you decide what payments and they're okay with that. But in most cases, it's going to be determined by the judge. And so the big picture here is for you to get in your head about the understanding that you're going to have to lose some finances to stay in this relationship. See, there's a huge sacrifice to these affairs. We don't know the cost until we are having to foot the bill. And having a child outside of your relationship is a big cost that lasts a lifetime, because we're talking about a human being. We're talking about a person that's going to grow up and have their own life, and you're responsible for them now. And you, as the hurt partner, are either signing on to this journey or signing off.
And this is why it's so critically important that if you could stay out of the courtroom, do everything you can. You're better off negotiating something directly with that parent than having the courts decide, because it'll be a whole nother situation when they get involved. So this is why it's important to maintain some type of healthy relationship, whatever that looks like, through all parties involved, for the sake of moving forward successfully with that child. These are some serious things that we're dealing with, folks. And listen, we just want to let you know that you can make it. Many of you are struggling through situations right now. You're wondering, how are we going to get over this particular hurdle? This is not what I signed up for. But I'm telling you right now that there's so many people who have been in the same situation that you're currently in, and they were able to overcome it. That there's hope for you. It's not lost. You can listen. I tell you what. There's so many couples right now that are dealing with a child inside of a womb of another person. They don't know the answer yet. Or maybe the child was just born. Or maybe, to the point that we made earlier, they just found out that there was a child years ago that just popped up on the scene. You want to restore the marriage. You want to stay committed to your partner, but you don't know how to get through this situation. You need to call us. You need to go to the website at couplesacademy.org and set up a discovery call so that we can guide you through this process. Listen, guys, we'll be right back. Going to go to a quick commercial break, but we hope that this is informational and somewhat inspirational for those that are in the situation to believe that there's life on the other side of this. You can make it, and we want to be here to guide you through that particular process. Be right back.
I'm saying, like, when you go to these therapists and counselors for these short increments of time, it's going to take you years to get to the point of moving forward, because you're doing an hour a week or an hour twice a week. So you're actually torturing yourself to get to the point a year from now of where you're trying to be. It just doesn't make sense to pay $150, $250 an hour to sit with somebody for 45 minutes and not even you can't get your life out in 45-minute increments. After that 45 minutes, okay, let's schedule our next session. But then you got to deal with all that stuff that you couldn't get out in the 45 minutes into the next 45 minutes. It just doesn't make sense. Like, this intensive, this makes sense. Like, it just, you get everything out, because it is intense. It's not for the faint of hearts. You're going 12, 14 hours a day, or longer, because, you know, Hassani is willing to go as long as it needs to be. Whereas you going to a therapist for 45 minutes for once a week, it's just, it doesn't make sense. You're not going to accomplish what you want to get accomplished as fast as it needs to be accomplished, because you're going to torture yourself. You're going to go through torture trying to get to something in a year that you can get through in this intensive. Like, it is what it is. I've had a new reckoning of the money that we wasted going to these 45 increments, and nothing changed. So you have to make a decision, just like you invest in everything else. So you want to buy a new car, you want to go to a concert, you need to think, do you want to invest in your relationship just as much?
Well, we're back, folks. Hope that was helpful for you and gave you some great information about what to do if you're in that situation. And listen, you saw the testimonial. There's so many people who are getting help, and they're doing what it takes to restore their relationship. And as mentioned, this particular couple did the private marriage intensive. Well, as you know, we have the Last Chance Weekend coming up. It is virtual. It is our group marriage intensive, and you have the opportunity of signing up. It's not too late. It'll be December the 11th through the 13th, 2020. You want to end this year off in a phenomenal way. You want to go into the new year with a new heart, with a new mind, with a new love, with a new connection.
With a new marriage.
With a new marriage. A marriage that you no longer recognize.
Guys, the link is in the chat, so please click it, learn all the details about it. When you go there, there's all the details, the time, the date, everything that you need to know, and you'll be able to register right there. So make sure you get your spot before we run out.
Well, guys, we love you. We hope you got something out of today's session, and we will see you on tomorrow for another great topic. Take care. We love you. Talk to you soon.